So this morning we celebrated a memorial service for June McAfee, who died in 2018. She was killed immediately in an accident when a truck went out of control and hit her on the street in Tumwater. And so it was very shocking for us, and is one of the great teachings in Buddhism that all things are temporary, that we are here temporarily, that everything is changing constantly. This is something we all say to one another. Teachers say this all the time. Well, after all, everything is changing. And we say that to one another when things are not going so well for us. We say, well, don't worry, everything is changing. You'll get by, you'll get past this. And those are sort of casual ways to take this, all things are changing. And it's true. It is absolutely true that there's nothing that remains the same one day after the next or one moment after the next. We are changing so abruptly, all of us, and life is so incredibly brief. It's a wink of an eye in terms of the length of the planet, or in terms of geologic time. It is just a blink. The meaning of all things are temporary, all things are changing, is really taken from the absolute nature of the Dharma, in that there is no central piece to hold on to, that everything is emptiness, and emptiness has no central point. It has nothing that we can hold on to, and nothing that has a nature, actually, that we can grasp. So it's a very difficult thing for us to comprehend the absolute meaning of all things are impermanent. And yet it is the very essence, well, there's no essence actually in emptiness either, but it is the very nature of emptiness, that there is no central point and there's nothing that we can hold on to. We've talked recently about the idea of the self and how the self functions. And it's true that from a relative standpoint, we have a self, and this is a reality. We're here, we know we are here. This body is breathing, and we can hear the leaves and the wind blow. And so this reality is true. It is where we are, and we don't deny this reality. But the same reality that we are in is ever changing from one moment to the next, even in the nature of the relative self. This is changing. We're not the same person we were 10 years ago or 10 minutes ago. And so that all things are changing has both two sides to it. The side that it's very, very painful, because we are going to lose one another. We are going to die. Those we love are going to die, that we are going to die ourselves. And then at the same time, because things are impermanent, we are relieved from many situations in which we've been suffering. So it has this two-edged sword to it that we live with in this relative world. Certainly, June's death for the Sangha was incredibly difficult. Still is for many of us. We still feel the loss of June and the goodwill that she brought to us, and the abilities and the openness and the kindness and the generosity that she brought to us. But June herself was changing. And June was beginning to suffer from dementia. And as somebody who had been a US Marine, this was incredibly difficult for her, because she lived a life of being capable of anything. And then to discover that she couldn't remember where her car was when she came out of the supermarket was tremendously painful to her, and very painful. And she just couldn't remember where she was supposed to show up. And when somebody would call her up to remind her, she would be so embarrassed and really beside herself. So she too was changing, and that she died in a heroic way, of course. As I said earlier, it was a mercy that she died as a hero, as in a heroic situation, because the idea that she would be wasting away somewhere with dementia would have been horrific to her. So the dignity of her death was a mercy that that was really a great miracle of the Dharma, that she was given that was something spectacular in a way, since we were all going to die, that she died heroically. So this teaching of impermanence, of course, is one of the important teachings in Buddhism. And the Heart Sutra that we just chanted is also very much about that. There's the relative and the absolute that come together. No ignorance, but also no extinction of it. There's no ignorance in the absolute Dharma, and yet no extinction of it in our relative world, which is also the stepping stone of awakening. That without delusion and ignorance, we don't manifest into awakening. This is difficult to understand, and yet that is the teaching. So there, in the course of our life, we are enjoined to bring together the relative and the absolute, to bring together the situation that we are in, of practicing in the absolute, practicing zazen, sitting in the absolute, and at the same time living in the relative world. Feeling that the synchronization of these two situations that we find ourselves in this life. And as we continue to practice, it's that we gain a further understanding and practice of the Dharma, of emptiness, of this impermanence, the embracing of impermanence. Of course, this has very much to do with attachment and non-attachment. And our non-attaching, our trying, at least a practice of not attaching to those kinds of things that are problematic in our lives. Those, or even to attach to love can be problematic, or to attach to zazen can be problematic. So attaching to anything can be problematic for us. It's very hard. Buddhism is not simple stuff. It is not easy to live in such a way in which we don't attach to anything. And yet that is central piece in impermanence. Well, Harada Roshi, whom we have studied, would speak about this, of course, as the ego attaching to the particular things that we like and that we don't like, or feeling slighted about certain things, or not liking this or that. And the ego's work And he says, until we really, really let go of that, we can't know impermanence. We can't embrace it. And we can't live and feel that moving toward the merging of difference and unity, the merging of the relative and the absolute truly coming together in our lives. And this is a natural unfolding. It's also a very natural thing if we continue to practice. It isn't that we have to think, oh, today I'm going to follow the absolute. It just occurs as we are committed to this practice. It is a natural unfolding of practice itself. It is a natural unfolding of the true self which allows the ego to fall away, which sees through the ego and beyond the ego. So to truly become ourselves, to become the self, the true self, is this what occurs, naturally occurring with every time we sit zazen. Every time we sit zazen, there's a little bit more tiny, minuscule pieces letting go. We can't really see ourselves in this. And yet that is a natural occurrence of the outcome of practice. That we truly become ourselves without worry about what is Buddha or whether Buddha is appearing or not. Because we ourselves are becoming Buddha as we continue to practice. So we can have great faith and reliance upon the true self, a reliance upon practice, which is simply a reliance upon emptiness. And there's no central point in emptiness. So it's great faith that it's required to fully embrace practice. And in so doing, the true self appears. The true self evolves. And then we're going to die. And then that's going to happen to all of us without fail. We don't know anyone who has managed this life without that. Even the Buddha died. Even Bodhidharma died. Even though we have this magical story of his not dying and sailing on a reed across the river. And we have images of him in our paintings. And so that is a wonderful myth. And that is very sustaining for various cultures. But no one survives this life. No postcards from heaven. No postcards have come back. June's cushion is still here in the Zendo somewhere. Somebody is sitting on it, by the way, because Yus was over there in the corner this morning.
It's on that side somewhere.
Okay. Somebody's sitting on it.
Oh, it's right there, I think.
I think Amir is sitting on
Yes,
it.
I think it's there.
Half buckwheat?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, that's June's cushion.
Yep.
Good wishes to you. Yeah, so. So we leave our mark and we celebrate that we have been here. We remember our lives. We remember the teachings that are given to us via one another's lives. As I think I have said before, every single person in the world has one thing to teach you. Everyone. The people you don't like have something to teach you. And when you find out what that is, inquire into them and see into them, the person you like the least or who gives you the most trouble at your workplace, whoever it is, inquire into them and find out what it is, the one thing that they have to teach you. And that sourness that we feel about them will disappear. Maybe it isn't that we will be good friends together, but we won't carry the animosity we might feel or the disturbance of the dislike, which can be very uncomfortable and natural in this life. But what small thing can that person teach you? And it's something very small. But I go through the day with the remembering the people who taught me these small things. Don't forget to crack the soup lid pot, because otherwise bacteria gathers in the hot pot. Things like that. Nothing extraordinary. Just simple things that were important, that are important to our lives, that take care of us. And June, as I said this morning, June taught me not to curse. Zen teachers are famous for cursing. And June disliked my cursing very much. Not that I do it all the time, but sometimes it has popped out. And June did not like that. And I respect that she asked me not to do that. And I respect that. She was asking me to take a more dignified position as a teacher. And so I respect that. And I'm sure she gave some teaching to everybody about something, about how to handle the hammer well, or how to do something. Or I certainly learned a great deal of plumbing from her. I learned a great deal of everything from her. And so we miss her a great deal. And there was no way that we could keep her forever anyway. Along with all of us, we will disappear physically. Michael Long now is entering hospice, and so we have more lessons to learn from Michael, who has taught me a great deal of patience. A man who has been in his wheelchair, has lost both of his legs, and has been in his wheelchair and confined to a wheelchair for many, many years now with advancing MS, and is now entering hospice. And he has much to teach us. And so whoever it is, whoever you come in contact with, find one thing that they can teach you and you'll remember them forever and be grateful to them forever. So since life is impermanent and this life is so brief, please take care of it. Do not waste your time by night or day, is what we are told in our sutra. Do not waste your time by night or day. Because life is brief and we don't know the moment or the day when will be our last day. And every year we live through the holiday of our last day, of the anniversary of our death. So please take care of your lives. Beings are numberless, I vow to save them. Delusions are inexhaustible, I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless, I vow to enter them. Buddha's way is unsurpassed, I bow to